Hello and welcome to the building blog of the Svenson Jungmeister, and today I'm going to start work on the tail feathers. So the fin and rudder and the horizontal stabiliser and the elevator. As you can see, it's a very straightforward affair. Cut out two components, nothing's laser cut, so it has to be cut out, stuck together. The position of the ribs is marked on, and then they are sanded later on in the process. So I'll take you through, show you how it goes. Well, that didn't take very long at all. It's a very novel approach. It's not a technique I've used before. The thin outline frame for the rudder obviously is then you simply glue on top the ribs to form the shape. I have the other side to do, but it's remarkably strong, far stronger than an open frame structure would be. And I suspect if you did an open frame structure, you would have to beef it up substantially to get the strength required, and that would sacrifice the scale appearance when this is covered, because the covering will cling to these ribs. They have to be sanded obviously, and will give the appearance of a fabric covered open structure. So that was very pleasing to do. I have the other side to repeat. I'll transfer the position of these ribs onto the edge and then square them across so that they all line up. But that took very little time actually at all, till the next part. Let's see how it goes. Well, there you go, that's completed. So rudder done, and the fin done. Obviously it needs to be shaped, but that's 50% of the tail feathers completed. Very straightforward. I think a very strong structure and very lightweight to boot. This middle sandwich to give the shape, I think adds very little, but offers a huge amount of strength to the structure and makes sure that it's true. So very pleased with that. The next stage, making the horizontal stabiliser. So on to the elevator and horizontal stabiliser, and as you can see, they come printed onto a sheet which you have to cut out. That's no big deal, but it just sort of shows the age of this kit. It's pre the days of laser cut. Today would be a laser cut part, I'm sure. So I'll press on ahead and I'll cut the parts out and then start putting this together. Here you can see an odd feature of this kit that I've come across on a couple of occasions in the way that they've been printed. So these are this is the elevator. I mean, it has to be ribbed on both sides, but it's handed like that, which is just I think it's just an odd approach. I would have thought it would have made more sense to print both on the same side, but I think it comes down to fitting the timber onto the sheet. But there we go. That's the first part cut out. The next part is to try on these other sections to see how they fit in with the hardware which links the two elevators. Another possibility is actually to use two servos for each elevator, which I may do. I may not put this in, and then I could mix them and alter them to make sure the trim was absolutely spot on, and also much more solid than you would get through this. But we'll see. I'll have a look. Hello there. So after a little bit of thought, I've come to the conclusion that I'm going to fit this bar which connects the two elevators. To do that, I need to cut out the marked area here, which will set this in, and then glue over the top 1, 2 pieces of balsa, but that's repeated on both sides, and I think that'll give more than enough strength for this section. So the first task is to actually cut out the area here. I'll try my best to do it as carefully as I can. The old adage, lots of small cuts rather than one heavy cut, works equally well now as it did when I was a young lad. Somebody explained it to me. Also tends to save on fingers being chopped. And I also find that when you're cutting into a corner, you go away from the corner, not into it. Less chance of the wood breaking that way. So take my time, no rush. Remove this section here. And it will look very delicate, or it'll appear very delicate at first, but remember that the other layers are going to add an awful lot of strength. So if I remove that section, is it going to go? Yeah, there you go. That's now been cut out so that, there you go, gas tight seal. So there you go, and then onto that will be added the layers, and I think I might use epoxy glue for the for this, just for added strength. I'm always a little bit uncertain about using CA in circumstances like this because I think it can be brittle, but there you go. Okay, so this is set up now. I've pinned down both of the elevators with the rod located between the two of them, and I've used a rule to ensure that they're parallel and they're not skewed in any way. So this side is set up ready with the 1/4 inch balsa on the leading edge and down the side, and I'm about to mix up some epoxy to insert this piece, which will hold the bar in place, and tend using epoxy for that purpose, and then a strengthening layer goes on top with this piece, and I think that'll be quite a substantial structure in itself. So I'm actually going to mix the epoxy up on the piece itself. Saves a lot of messing. So it's a quick setting epoxy, it's nothing special. Just think it'll add a little bit more strength rather than relying on CA or wood glue. I'm sure wood glue would probably be good enough. But the trick is with the epoxy to ensure that it's fully mixed, which I'll do here. And there's more than required, so it'll fill this area where the bar sits below the surface. So spread that. I'll apply a little bit of weight to this as well. I think I'll use wood glue on the other piece actually. So we want it glued along the edge as well. Actually, I am going to use CA for that, because that'll help lock it in. Because it is CA here. In you go, that piece, now that bar is well and truly located, and the CA has pulled in tight against the 1/4 inch, and that'll hold everything in place while the epoxy glue goes off. I don't think you've got to be afraid of mixing glues sometimes. Not literally mixing them, but using them for slightly different applications. and then this piece going on there, that'll just be a little bit of super glue, I think, or CA along the edge. Occasionally I go around and form a gusset with wood glue if I feel it's necessary, but I don't think that's going to be an issue here. So it's really just a case of repeating the process at the other side, and while it's pinned down, actually putting the ribs on. It'll make a lot of sense, and then I can lift the whole thing off, flip it over and do the other side. So that's the horizontal stabiliser and elevators completed. Quite a straightforward task. I'm surprised at how quick it was and how strong it is. Obviously it hasn't been tidied up or the profile for the ribs formed on it. But the next stage will obviously be to wait for a nice day, get outside and get some sanding done.